What's up, YouTube? I'm Rob.
And this is Nick.
Coffee and Crypto here. We're back with a bear market update for you, and we got some interesting things to cover. But before we get into it, please go ahead and give us a like on this video and subscribe to our channel because it helps out our channel grow when you hit the like button. And when you subscribe, you're going to get our updates right when they come out because we are here and committed to giving you market analysis and education. So let's get into it. Nick, why don't you start us off with the current Bitcoin price and we can dive into some analysis.
All right. Since we last gave you all an update, I believe we were sitting at we were sitting at 22,000, and since then, the Fed has raised interest rates 3/4 of a point, and just a cascading of barrage of negative events has come out, and Bitcoin dropped all the way down to I don't know what the exact low was, but it was like the low 17s, which was impressive. I know we talked about this as in one of our scenarios in the last video, going all the way down to like the low teens before capitulating and starting another bull market. So it's kind of interesting. We're kind of halfway there. We could just be kind of consolidating around this area before we do like a final capitulation event. There's a lot of mixed signals right now in the market because everything seems like almost too bearish to be true. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Do you want to talk about some of the news events that have happened that have kind of caused this event?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of things have happened before that rate hike. You know, the inflation came out the week before, so everyone was expecting 75 basis points. The market had a little rally, like a very small rally from that, but then all the events that had been occurring around it. This is why crypto is exciting because it's so volatile. Like so many things happen, and it's just there's always something going on. It's crazy how entertaining it is. But anyway, what happened was this company, 3 Hours Capital. It's like a venture capital hedge fund type of business. Anyway, they had a large amount of money that they were leveraging and doing all sorts of stuff with. They were over leveraged, and it looks like they got liquidated, which caused massive sell-offs, and their portfolio got liquidated. So that caused another more selling pressure on Bitcoin in the market. And then on top of that, I think we talked about this in the last video, but this just kept unwinding, is the whole Celsius situation. Celsius is the platform, which is like a staking platform. You put your coins on there, you earn interest.
You also lend, I think, on Celsius as well.
Do crypto-backed loans.
Yeah, you can borrow and lend, exactly.
Yeah, but how do they pay you an interest? Well, they're also leveraging your funds and loaning and leveraging and doing all sorts of things. And basically there was like this cross contagion that was going on with 3 Hours Capital, Celsius, the whole Terra Luna thing. So like everyone was like exposed to each other. And then these companies just started to unwind and getting liquidated, and it just caused a significant amount of FUD and selling pressure.
Did you see what BitBoy Crypto said about Celsius? Did you see?
I saw he wants to do a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, because I think I saw his tweet the other day where he said that his company, or he himself, I don't know if it's him or his company, has a lot of funds on Celsius.
Still locked. And
in order, he wanted to pay off some of his loans with some of his funds that were already on there, but they were actually asking him to deposit more on top of the funds he already had in the account to pay off his loans. And he's like, no, hold on a second. So that kind of just gave confirmation that something was insolvent there. So it kind of added more fear and contagion because he's got, I don't know, like 1 million followers or subscribers. I don't know how big his channel is, but it's one of the largest crypto channels out there.
It's, we could say a lot, but Celsius was one of those platforms where, like, similar to Luna, where like you hear these crazy stories where people were like taking out loans, buying crypto, and then putting them on Celsius. So it's like a loan to buy crypto, and then the platform is loaning out your crypto and leveraging. So it kind of just turned into this nightmare situation. All these institutions and Companies like Celsius, Terra, they're just unwinding, and their Ponzi-nomics have been falling apart and causing a lot of pressure and sell pressure and downward momentum on the market. But then, so we had all this crazy selling, in the 17s. And it's actually funny because I remember when we were like around the 30,000 range, 20 to 32,000 range, I was saying like, we could have another 40 to 50% move down. And 17K is like pretty much in that 40, 15,000 is going to be 50%. But you just can't predict these events. Anyway, over the weekend, we're trending down. Everything looks super bearish. 17, and change. And then we're back up to 20K. What happened? Well, reportedly Binance bought, I think they bought like 100,000 Bitcoins or something like in the $1 billion plus amount.
Like some sort of like a bailout, a Binance bailout.
Right. So Binance, and then reportedly
FTX.
The CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, who is heavily memed on Twitter, which is pretty funny to see. But anyway, apparently FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, they bailed out. I'm not sure who they bailed out, but it's purported that they have, come to the rescue with funds on, I don't know if it was, any of the aforementioned companies, Celsius, 3 Hours Capital, or companies in similar situations, to basically prevent them from getting liquidated and further creating sell pressure and downward price action on the market. So it appears that Binance and what's the other guy? Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX have kind of stepped in and quote unquote done a bailout in the crypto market to prevent a further crash. So
it's the mixed signals I'm talking about. It's a little confusing right now at this moment.
I want to say a couple of things and then have you comment. Like when I hear this stuff, like part of me is like, well, all the institutions they're over leveraged, they're getting liquidated. And then like you have this like somewhat of a bailout situation. I don't know. It just makes me think like Bitcoin, crypto, like I always thought it was like, for the people, like for the little guys.
It seems like it's getting manipulated to kind of mess us up.
That's what I'm saying. And then, also with, Michael Saylor and, his whole thing, they have their liquidation price and, all these companies, their liquidation prices are coming out. So we're kind of getting in that range where, another institution or company gets liquidated or forced to sell, then, could cause a lot of downward pressure. But anyway, I'll let you take over, Nick. That was basically like the news of what was causing all this volatility. So it's never a dull time in crypto. But anyway, let's look at the price, the chart, make some predictions, and then any thoughts on whatever happened.
Yeah, I kind of, Rob just talked a little bit about the news events that caused that. I kind of want to go into a little bit of, we're going to take a look at the Pule multiple, which kind of talks about the daily coin and issuance versus the 365-day moving average. And the last time we looked at this, it was hovering right around 1, right around the bottom of this range. And since then, since we've had these extremely bearish events take place over the last couple weeks, we're down like at almost the lowest levels we've seen. Like at the moment, we're lower than we were in March of 2020. We're at the same levels that we were at the bottom of the bear market back in 2019. So it's very, very interesting to take a look at this and kind of feel out where we are. There's so much bearish news at the moment, though. Like I could see us. It's interesting because, like, look at this. We caught support. It kind of looks like at the all-time high, the 2017 all-time high. Is this kind of like a fake out and we're going to just have capitulation dump down to like the low teens like we've been talking about? Or are we going to catch support here and just fake everybody out? We're going to have to wait and find out. Let's see.
There's a chart that I saw. It was basically like a heat map of all the selling and the sell-offs in Bitcoin. And it differentiated between spot selling and derivatives-based selling. And it went through all the previous, big sell-offs in Bitcoin's history and capitulation, all that stuff. And basically the recent sell-off that we've seen, that's gotten us down to 17K. Now we're at 20K plus or minus. It appears that that has mainly been spot selling. There's also a lot of derivatives going on, but the point is that most of the bottoms that have been hit on Bitcoin, when you look at this heat map, it's like heavily in the red of being derivatives, um, basically being from derivatives, sell pressure. So it seems like we've gotten to this point where it's been a lot of spot sell off. Could derivatives force us down to capitulation and to the bottom? I think that, is obviously left to be determined and, figured out, but that could be the next driving factor down, because I think everything else is like, we kind of know what to expect. The next rate hike is probably going to be 75 basis points. We know inflation's bad. Um, unless these other events like Celsius, 3AC, Terra Luna, unless something else like that happens. But yeah, we could be derivatives based. That takes us into the next leg down. And, the one thing was tomorrow, Tuesday, the 21st, a Bitcoin short ETF is opening. So it's literally like you can only short Bitcoin in this ETF. So that's derivatives based. So that's,
I already told you my thoughts on that, Rob, earlier, which is basically like anytime an ETF comes out, it's almost like you should do the opposite of what it is, because most of the time ETFs are designed to lure retail investors in to short maybe, and then maybe they're planning some major rally to kind of like mess up the retails. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I'm looking at the longer term crypto fear and greed index. We've been chilling down here like at the 10 or below level for, it's been a couple months here, 2-3 months, in the low teens. And now I think if we go up here, what are we at? 9 now. Yesterday we were at a 6. I don't even know if I ever remember seeing it that low. Like, it's crazy. That ad is funny.
Can you rate DeSantis before we go any further?
No comment. We can't. I think I don't want to get. I don't want to get political on this this channel right now. Lose half of our subscribers.
Pro crypto.
That is a good question. We can talk about that in the next video. Let's do it. Let's check it out. Anyways, this is another one of those contrarian indicators where I'm feeling like there's so much bearish news out there, but also at the same time, at the previous bottoms, look at where the fear and greed index was at the bottom of the March 2020 crash. I mean, we're right down there at that same level. Does that mean we're about to rally? I don't know. I'd say it's a coin flip right now because of everything that you've been talking about. I think it's 50-50. Whether we bounce here from 20,000 and continue a rally, or we capitulate, drop out some more weekends from the derivatives that you're talking about. It's a coin flip to me right now.
A couple things to say.
Yeah, go for it, Rob.
The one thing on the fear and greed index is that it's relatively new. It's only been out since February 1st, 2018. And I do believe that this is like 50% based off of social media sentiment, which is like largely driven by Twitter. But everyone is super bearish right now. I think we're definitely near the bottom. One other thing I wanted to say was BlackRock recently came out. I think it was like their CIO or some C-suite executive top guy. He made a pretty bullish comment on Bitcoin, and it's funny because like the way some people look at that as BlackRock is this big company, unlimited funds, like people always make comments on who, like someone's pulling the strings with that company to manipulate the market. No one really knows. There's a lot of questions about them. But anyway, the thought behind that was, okay, now BlackRock is coming out. They're pro Bitcoin or they're bullish. They have a bullish comment. Could they have been behind what was driving down the prices and the unwinds of these companies? I think actually when I think it was Terra or like one of the unwinds that recently happened, it had been reported that they were behind it, but they came out and publicly said no. But anyway, the theory is if they're coming out and saying that they're at a bullish comment, could they have been driving the prices down so they can buy in? And now that we've bounced up to 20,000, now they're coming out after they've already bought in. So something to think about. But anyway, everyone seems bearish right now. I do think the macro is largely bearish. I do think that we will get bounces as we go along because you can't just go straight down to zero and you can't just go straight up to 100K. There's going to be ups and downs. But why don't we cap off with the chart and some price predictions and your thoughts? I guess I'll wrap up my thoughts. I think we'll chop in this range again. We'll probably range sideways. High 17, 18 to 20K. We have not been able to reclaim that. I think it was the 200 weekly moving average on the daily or weekly. So we may just chop sideways until the next event happens. Maybe it's derivatives based, maybe it's another unwind, maybe it's the next rate hike, who knows? But I do think we're largely bearish, but I think the bottom, if 17K was not the bottom, it would probably be like in the 10 to 15 range.
All right.
So Nick, why don't you close us out?
I will close this out. I don't know. Like I said, it's 50-50. And what did I do this last week? I actually bought some crypto with the remaining reserves that I have left of cash to purchase crypto. I threw about half of it at altcoins this past week. And the last little bit of cash I've got left, I'm either waiting for that capitulation dump to happen or for there to be more clarity. So if we do get a capitulation dump, I'm going to start buying if Bitcoin's in the 14 to 15,000 range. And I'm not even going to be buying Bitcoin. I'm going to be buying the alts that I love because they're going to definitely be tanking harder than Bitcoin as they usually do. So that's my plan for the next week or so, is kind of waiting. Are we going to get that capitulation dump down to the low teens? If it does happen, I'm going to deploy the rest of my capital into the crypto market. But until then, I'm not buying anything else. I bought some crypto this last week when we were down in like the $18,000 Bitcoin range. But if we do get that capitulation dump, I'll be deploying the rest, and that'll be all she wrote. I think we can wrap it up there.
All right, let's do it.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.